right, good evening, everyone. Check, check, check. 1, 2, check, 1, 2. Is my mic on? There it is. I hear it. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the lead pastor and executive director here. This is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. So good to be with you all on this Saturday night. For those of you joining us online, welcome. Glad you're here, wherever you're joining us from, whatever state you're in, city. Here's what you need to know about our city of Denver, Colorado. It is currently May 21st? March 21st? What feels like July 20th? March 21st, and it's 92 degrees outside. I should have worn my jorts, you know what I mean? But I didn't. I wore my jeans. Anyway, so glad y'all are here to remind you this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. As always, there is one thing that we don't do in this community. You can shout it out on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame, but Carrie is gonna. Carrie's gonna tell you some things coming up.
Oh, welcome. If tonight is your first night with us, we are so glad that you're here. Welcome. We would love to get to know you just outside of these doors after service. Come find one of us and we'll get you connected with a welcome bag. Inside the welcome bag, you'll find some fresh roasted wagon coffee from the extraordinary Tammy Kennedy, who will be here a little bit later.
She's not all the way in the back. She's standing doing the...
Well, Tammy Kennedy, who's amazing, and her women at Wagon Coffee, as well as some free swag and a meeting schedule. If you flip over the meeting schedule, you'll see a QR code. Scan that, and then you'll get connected to our link tree and find out all the different information that we have going on here, all the different events. You can sign up to download our app. And you can also sign up to get on our newsletter. And if you get on our newsletter, you'll find out all the different guest storytellers, as well as the different events coming up for the week. Such as, my friends, tonight is the Breaking the Cycle family group in between services. So if you have children under your care, in between services, it's completely free. Parents do need to attend with the children, but even if you do not have your children this weekend, you can still attend and get all the different resources available. There's free food provided, and as well as just resources to how to be a better advocate for children, how to learn to regulate your nervous system, help your children regulate their nervous system. It's a wonderful program. They partner with Hazelton Betty Ford and Nancy Martin, the resident therapist who works down the hall. It's an extraordinary program, totally free. So if you know anyone who has kids or you have kids, check it out. Next, we have Sober Open Mic. We partner with the Phoenix, and it's sponsored by the Hornbuckle Foundation and Colorado and Artists in Recovery, which you will hear from Darren in just a little bit. This is going to be on Thursday, March 26th at 6:30. So if you would like to either perform or attend, you can scan this QR code. You can also go to our website and go down to events. If you want to perform, you do need to register.
And you can sing, you can dance, you can play music.
Poetry.
You can do poetry, you can tell jokes. We have all kinds of comedians.
Yeah, we have very talented people in our community. Next, my friends, we have our Easter service. So as y'all know, we do things a little bit different here. Our services are on Saturday nights, not Sundays. So we are going to celebrate Easter on Saturday, April 4th. And there will be an activity in between services for the children. I think that's all I got for you guys.
Is that all you have?
Well, yeah, because now Darren's going to come up.
Oh, Darren, come on up, dude. Darren is the executive director. Sorry, Carrie. Executive Director of Colorado Artists in Recovery, and the art show is coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it, dude.
So twice a year, I'm Darren with Colorado Artists in Recovery. We do art, music, meditation kind of workshops for people in recovery, and we have these 6-week workshops. And folks from our 6-week workshops, we send a call for artists, and we're like, we're going to do an art show and show you off. And the beautiful thing about it is they get to smile and be proud of themselves and say I'm an artist and not an addict, you know, and it's just a really good moment. So we invite the community. It's a free event here Friday, April 3rd, so right before this Easter service, from 5 to 8 p.m. It'll be in the cafe area, in the hallways here. Music, food, snacks, and wagon coffee. So we'd love to have you there. The flyers are right out here, outside the door here, or you can go to coloradoartsandrecovery.org, and right on the front page that you can register for free tickets, or just come. Thanks so much.
It's a great event. Thank you, Darren. All right, y'all. I'm going to give this to David or Josh one. Because the way we get started here on a Saturday night, if you're new with us, the way we get started is with celebrations. We start with the good. We lift up the good. We take 3 minutes for this. This is always a very profound part of our time together. Celebrating together, God joining with us in the celebrations, cheering for one another, rooting for one another. Maybe you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or new jobs, new kids, new homes, whatever it is in your life or your recovery. We celebrate it all. 3 minutes. If you're joining us online, drop your celebrations in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We'll join with you there. For those of you in-house, David has a mic on this side. Josh has a mic on this side. Just raise up your hand. Give us the good news, and don't be shy. Let's take 3 minutes.
Hey, this is Carrie. I want to start off. I got a couple of them. So I want to first start off with Shanley, who is the chair of our board. She celebrated 6 years of sobriety last Sunday.
6 years, Shanley.
Woo-woo! And if y'all go to the cafe tonight, Abby, who's our cafe manager, she's celebrating 5 years of sobriety today.
5 years, way to go, Abby.
And then one more, and then I promise I'll pass. I just want to welcome Craig and Rain here. We got sober together in Los Angeles, and I'm so excited that they get to see it, what we do here in Denver. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, welcome, y'all. Glad you're here. Good to have you.
I'm David, and I'm celebrating 3 months.
3 months, David. Way to go, dude.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Oh, that was loud. Hi, I'm Sarah. I wanted to celebrate my Aunt Diane. She's 67 years old and met the love of her life a couple years ago, and they're getting married in a couple weeks. So.
All right, we'll celebrate that. Congratulations, Aunt.
My name's Paul. I'm just going to say I'm celebrating another day of being sober.
Yeah, we'll celebrate that, Paul.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, so I just keep going by the days. I don't do the years anymore, but it's been a while, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Glad you're here, Paul. We'll celebrate it all. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Petra, and I'm just celebrating that our youngest son, was able to evacuate from the floods on Oahu in Hawaii, and prayers for all those who have been affected.
Yeah, major flood. Yeah, we'll celebrate that.
Hi, this is Jeffrey, alcoholic, and I celebrated 16 months on the 15th.
Way to go, Jeffrey.
Hi, I'm Faith, and I got a new job after being unemployed for 6 months.
Okay, congratulations, Faith. Way to go. Good news. All the way in the front row, JD.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we don't do shame or secrets.
Okay, all right, okay. I was asking permission. My name's Jennifer, and I'm head of a company, a theater company called Vision Box Studio. And we have a project we've done over the past 3 years called American Addict, based on hundreds of interviews with addicts in recovery and my own story. And Ryan and I are going to co-produce it here in May. And why I'm saying something tonight is tomorrow are the auditions. So we have a full day of actors auditioning, and I'm celebrating that. It wouldn't have happened without Free. And
yeah,
Ryan.
we'll celebrate that, and I hope y'all come. You'll be hearing more about it. Tammy Kennedy, are you joining me up here? Thank you, David and Josh. You're bringing your water up here? Oh my goodness.
Taking it all in.
She
Hi,
sometimes
guys.
brings this thing in my car. This is the stand. It's like the biggest, most obnoxious thing you could ever imagine, but I don't have a resentment about it. I'm gonna call my sponsor later. He's gonna help me work
Could
through
be
it. Okay.
worse. It could be worse.
We don't do shame. Was that shaming you? I love Stanley water bottles. All right, you take the first one.
Hey, Mark says, my celebration tonight is being in Pueblo with my mom and her best friend of 77 years, attending the Drifters concert tonight.
All right.
Ironically, staying at the Clink Hotel that used to be in Old City Jail. How appropriate.
How appropriate. There you go, Mark. We'll celebrate that, buddy. Have fun. Colin says, for a celebration, I'm grateful that my higher power is directing me to understand that there is no need to identify as being in recovery nor as being recovered, but simply as a human being named Colin. All right, Colin, we're going to celebrate you as a human being, my friend. Glad you're
Good to
joining
see you,
us.
Colin. Hey, Miss Sarah. She says, celebrating the immense blessings that I have received all week as kind and thoughtful birthday gifts.
All right, Sarah, happy birthday to you. Mimi says, hi, family. Andre, ooh, this is a big one. Andre proposed on Thursday, and the dogs and I said absolutely, without a doubt, yes, we're getting married. Way to go, Mimi and Andre. Congratulations to y'all.
So happy for you guys. And Jennifer says, celebrating that I got a new job at a rehab.
Yes, congratulations, Jennifer. Glad you're joining us tonight. Is that it? Oh, we do have another one because Nicole says she is 77 days sober.
Nice,
Good
Nicole.
job on 77 days, Nicole. Glad you're joining us tonight. Congrats. All right, Tim. Thank you for being up here with me. Yeah, you can take your water bottle and drink it. All right, y'all. It's always fun to celebrate with you. We're in this third week of this series that we're calling March Madness, when everything's on the line. And tonight the theme is, well, simple but not always easy. You might need new teammates. All right, y'all, so I do know it is March Madness, which means it's all about college basketball and the NCAA tournament, but I'm going to make a confession to you tonight. I'm a way bigger NBA basketball fan than I am a college basketball fan. Anyone with me on this? Okay. In the Canada household, we are big Denver Nuggets fans. In fact, did we just get claps for that? Go Nugs. Me and my boys, we watch almost all their games together. And here's the thing about my 10-year-old boy, Breck. Oh, Breck. Breck is absolutely convinced that if a player gets traded from one team to another, that means that player just totally sucks. Because why would they trade him? And so I try to explain to Breck on a regular basis that, dude, there's all kinds of reasons why a team would decide to trade that particular player and take on a new player. And you have to understand that organization, that team, they are trying to build the best team possible. And sometimes they do it with like the immediate outcomes in mind, like they want to get somewhere that season, so they'll bring on a new player. Or sometimes they're doing it with a long-term strategy, and there's something bigger at play, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it totally fails. And then I also try to explain to Breck, see if you're with me on this, if you make it all the way to the NBA, well, you probably don't suck. Now, here's the deal. When it comes to your life and your recovery, you want to build the best team possible. Sometimes you're going to do it, and you need to work towards those immediate results, especially, I think, in my experience, if you're new in recovery, you need like an immediate change of teammates. You need to get rid of some teammates, bring some new teammates on, and at the same time, you're also doing so, you're building a team, the best team possible, with a long-term strategy in mind. And some of you do know Jim Rohn. He's a business philosopher and he's a motivational speaker. He tells us that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I could ask you, who are you choosing to spend your time with? Who do you spend your time with? Who are the ones that you trust to hold and actually carry your heart? Who are the ones who are there to help you back up when you fall? Who are the ones who are there celebrating with you when you win? And are you building the best team possible? We could say it this way: just show me your 5 closest teammates, and I'll show you your future. And let me ask you this: is anyone here, you're just feeling kind of stuck in life? I mean, there's no shame in that. I think it happens all the time. We feel stuck in life. We get stuck with like the big things. We get stuck with the little things. We get stuck with all the things in between. Like maybe you're feeling stuck with just these old thought patterns, and it's always the negative ones that win. It's always the negative ones that just keep replaying, and you've become a negative person and you feel kind of stuck there. Or maybe you're stuck in old habits, and these old habits are the things that keep you from being the best version of yourself, the version that God created, and you're just feeling kind of stuck there. Or maybe you're stuck in some past wounds and pain, and for you, healing feels so far away, it feels so distant. Or maybe you're stuck in the blame game. Yeah, anyone been stuck in a blame game? Bad things happen in your life. Bad things maybe keep happening in your life, and you can't keep from blaming God. You just have to blame God. It's all God's fault that everything goes wrong and the world came crashing down and you're blaming God. Do y'all remember the series we did last summer called Let Them? Based on Mel Robbins' book called Let Them. Very good book, by the way. If you remember it, Mel Robbins, if you read the book, she said, you don't become what you want, you become what you're around, and the fastest way to change your life is change who you spend time with. In other words, if your closest people, if you're struggling with negative and your closest people, they're always spinning towards the negative and they see the negative in anything and everything, well, you're probably going to stay stuck in the negative. If you say to yourself, man, I want to get physically healthy, I want to be more physical activity in my life, and I want to turn over a new leaf, and if everyone around you, if your closest people, well, if they have poor eating habits and poor exercise habits and physical activity is way down on the pole, well, I hate to tell you, you're probably going to stay stuck physically. If your closest people choose not to do the inner work, if they choose to stay in all the dysfunction, even though they know there's tools out there, but if they choose it and that's your closest people, you're probably going to stay emotionally stuck. And if your closest people, if they're affirming your blaming of God because that's the way they operate too, they just blame God for everything, well, I think in my experience, you are going to stay spiritually stuck. And if everyone around you is stuck, well, then what happens? Stuck starts to feel normal, doesn't it? Why? Because you become what you're around. And maybe it's time to get new teammates. And are you building the best possible team? To be the best version of you, the one that the world needs. And these teammates that you're choosing, well, when you look at them, do you say to yourself, man, they have a life that is very compelling to me? Do they live a life that's compelling to you? And if your answer is, well, sometimes they do, or, they do over here, but not so much over here, or kind of they do, well, then I would encourage you, it is probably time to get new teammates. Do you know that when I hit bottom in January of 2013, bottom with the drink, and I encountered the GOD, the gift of desperation, I knew that I had to get new teammates. I started going to these 12-step meetings. I started going to AA meetings. And I started hanging around these people. And these were people I never wanted to hang around. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't want these to be my people. But I also knew like I couldn't count on my old drinking buddies to get me to where I wanted to go. And by the way, it's not because they're bad people. In fact, many of them, they're very good people. But I couldn't rely on them to help me get sober. It was going to take other people. And do you know when I went to these 12-step meetings in the basement of the church where I was serving as pastor? It was so stunning to me. Because when I looked at them and when I heard them talk and when I heard the things they were up to in the world, they lived a life that was compelling to me. And they talked about God, and for me it was the most refreshing ways. They talked about God, and they had this spiritual life. And for them, God wasn't just something that's an idea out here somewhere, but they talked about God as if they relied on this God for their life. That was new to me. These people, they were also the ones who loved me when I didn't know how to love myself. They were the ones that helped carry me to a place of healing when I had nothing left. Yeah, I had to find new teammates. Do you know when I got sober and I started my journey of losing 80 plus pounds and trying to get physically healthy because the doctor told me I was very physically unhealthy. I was on my way to an early death. All the numbers were shooting up in the wrong direction. Well, I knew I had to get new teammates. And do you know some days I would be standing at our kitchen sink looking out the window, and one of those new teammates for me, his name was Denton. I'd be looking out the window. Denton was a friend of ours, but also he was one of our neighbors, and he's one of those runners. Anyone a runner in here? Not many of you, good, because I have a love-hate relationship with y'all. He was a runner, and he was like physically fit. And I don't know what I was thinking, but on that morning standing at the kitchen sink, I decided I'm going to run out there, and I'm going to ask him if I can run with him. What was I thinking? I still to this day hate running. So I go outside. I said, Denton, I see that you run most mornings. Could I start running with you? He says, yeah, let's start tomorrow morning. I said, perfect. So I meet Denton outside the next morning at 7 a.m. Now, Denton is one of those guys, he loves to do two things at once. He liked to talk and he liked to run at the same time. And I am at the time very generously proportioned. I can't breathe, so I start running. About 4 seconds into this thing, I got my hands on my knees and I said, Denton, dude, we can do one of two things, but we can't do them both at the same time. We can either talk or we can run. And about 4.5 minutes into this run, which was actually more like a jog, I said, Denton, I think I'm going to throw up, man. I think I'm sick. He asked me, he says, well, what'd you have for breakfast? I said, I had a bowl of cereal. He looks at me, he says, like with milk? You had cereal before the run? Well, what am I supposed to have? He says, was it a big bowl of cereal? It wasn't a small bowl of cereal. Do you know, on the many mornings that I ran with Denton, every time I wanted to give up, he would say to me, just a little bit further, you can do this, just a little bit further. And when I had nothing left on those days, he helped carry me to a place of health and healing. You might need new teammates. And do you know, when I was so pissed off with God, when I was so angry, when I was filled with so much pain, which was a lot of my life in my early years, I had to find new teammates. My old teammates from evangelical Christian culture, well, they weren't good teammates for me anymore. In the midst of pain, in the midst of confusion, my old teammates, they said the right things from their cultural standpoint. They said the right things with all the things I grew up with. And they said the right things like, Ryan, you just have to understand, God did this for a reason. Ryan, you just have to understand, God did this because God is teaching you a lesson, which was always really confusing for me to hear, because I thought, wait a minute, God had to kill someone? God had to kill my brother to teach me a lesson? Isn't there another way to do it? And then as I look at it, it's very much in alignment with that theology. because they built a whole theology, and I was deep into it, a whole theology based on this idea that God was so angry, God had to send God's son down to earth to die, to be killed, so that you and I could somehow be saved. And I know it's a very popular theology, but it is one that I have since come to reject, and it has no place in my spiritual life anymore. And when I was so angry and so confused, at 21 years old, I went into one of my college professor's office, and I stepped into his office and I said, "Can you just tell me, why did God do this? Why did God do this?" And do you know, he posed a question to me that totally changed the trajectory of my life. He asked me in his office, what if God had nothing to do with this? I had never entertained that kind of God before. I had never been introduced to that kind of theology. What if God had nothing to do with this? And I can tell you, my ongoing conversations with him, this is a long-term strategy we're talking about, because sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. My ongoing conversations with him helped carry me to a place of healing. And y'all do know, sometimes those questions that getting carried to healing, it will be very uncomfortable, because the questions are challenging you. They're challenging some of the tools that you had. They're challenging the things that were handed to you as a kid. Those questions that are going to get posed to you, it's going to be you growing. It's going to be something inside of you expanding. It's going to be shedding some old things and taking on some new things. And maybe you need some new teammates. And who are the ones who help carry you to a place of healing? And so what I want to do for just the next couple of minutes, I want to look at this story with you. This is an absolutely fascinating story that comes from Mark's Gospel, chapter 2. And you have to understand a few things. Up to this point, Jesus has been traveling around from town to town, and he's been spreading the message of God's love and God's healing. And then at this point in the story, apparently Jesus is back home. And when he gets back home, he's in his house, and there's this massive crowd of people gathering. And among this massive crowd of people, there's a few characters at play. There's Jesus. And then there's a guy who would have been considered in the first century Greco-Roman world a man who was unwell. And then he had his friends. This man had some friends. And then the fourth set of characters are the religious leaders of the day. Are you ready to read this story with me? Yeah, it goes like this. Absolutely fascinating. Check it out. When Jesus returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in front of the door. And he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by the four of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and after having dug through it, they let down the man on the mat. They let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. But don't miss this line, because this is interesting. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And we're going to come back to that line because I know it trips people up. And isn't the story interesting? Here's a man who can't move. He can't move. He can't get to the place of healing on his own. He had no ability to get to where he needed to go. So he wasn't just struggling. He's completely stuck. And see if you relate. He doesn't get to a place of healing because of his own strength. He gets there because of his friends. The text says, the four that carried him. And is it true? Some of us are alive today, not because of our own strength, but because of the people who carried us when we had nothing left. And the teammates you choose, the people you surround yourself with, do you see why it matters? And this dude, he chose some good teammates. He was surrounded by good teammates. And just imagine for a moment if he had the wrong teammates. Imagine some of the things, the platitudes they could have spoken to him. "No, dude, you're fine. No, just stay put. No, you don't need help, man. You're fine just the way you are. No, dude, you're causing a scene. Don't cause a scene. What do you want us to do? Just climb up the house and like tear a hole through the roof and then lay you in there? What do you want us to do, man? That's going to cause a scene. Just stay put. You see, the wrong teammates, they don't just slow you down, they keep you stuck. And did you catch that line? When Jesus saw their faith, not this man's faith, but the faith of his friends, because oftentimes your healing is all tied up with who you're surrounded by. It's tied up with other people. So I would make a recommendation to you from experience. Stop choosing teammates who want to see you lose. Stop choosing teammates who benefit from you staying stuck. Stop choosing teammates who have zero interest in your healing. And by the way, what does healing look like? Did you know that in the first century Greco-Roman world, the world of Jesus, the common thinking would have been that this man is in this condition because of some sort of sin in his past or family sin that's catching up to him generationally. And because of that, the assumption would be that God has totally turned God's back on this man. This man is now in first century Greco-Roman society. He's an outcast. He's a reject. He is a total nobody. And when this man's four friends tear a hole through the roof, climb up the house and tear a hole through the roof, and then lower him down, and Jesus sees him, what's Jesus say to him? You sinner. You reject. You loser. Now, what's he say to him? Son. S-O-N, son. And do you see how big that is? I mean, everyone in the room, the crowds would have gone silent. You could have heard a pin drop. And they would have been whispering to each other, I think. Did Rabbi Jesus just say that? Did Rabbi Jesus just call this sinner, this outcast? Did he call him son? What's Jesus say to this man? He says, you belong here. You are God's son. And what's Jesus say to him next? Your sins are forgiven. And I know when we get to that word sin, so many of us, we have baggage with that word, so we got to unpack it a little bit. When you see that word sin there, if it's helpful, think of all the things that keep you from healing. All the things that keep you from living into your true self. All the things that keep you from having an authentic encounter with God. And when you see that word forgiveness, remember, in the Greek, it's this word aphiemi, and it literally means to release or to let go or to cast away. Isn't it interesting? Jesus is saying you belong with God and you are totally free. Now live into this new identity and walk. Yeah. How did the religious leaders respond? Here's what they said. Now, some of the scribes, the religious leaders of the day, were sitting there questioning in their hearts, why does this fellow speak in this way? It's blasphemy. And can I just point out the obvious to you? Jesus did not choose the religious leaders of the day to be his teammates. They were the ones who failed to understand what God was actually up to in the world. They were the ones who saw themselves as the gatekeepers, who God loves and who God doesn't love, who's in and who's out, and Jesus didn't choose them to be his teammates. I mean, do you see why choosing your teammates, it matters? Because you do not become what you want, you become what you're around, and the fastest way to change your life is to change who you spend your time with. So I'll leave you with this. If you are struggling with this idea of choosing good teammates, I'll leave you with 4 qualities that you might want to consider. You could probably add 100 other things to this list too. 4 qualities to consider in choosing good teammates. And the first one is this: good teammates start with questions rather than answers. So in other words, stop choosing the teammates who have answers for everything when you're stuck. Y'all probably know these people. These are the ones that are like, they see themselves as the experts in everything in life. And when you're stuck, they're just going to come along and give you all the answers, but they have not, because they love to create this power dynamic. As long as they have all the answers, then you got to keep coming to them, and you're always unequals. And they haven't learned how to love you, and I think it's because they have not learned how to love themselves. They think their value comes from being the smartest one in the room. They think their value comes from having all the answers. Yeah, choose teammates who ask the right questions. The questions that lead you into becoming who you are. They remind you who you are. They bring you into your best self. I think they lead you towards a loving God, not a God of condemnation and shame. And do be reminded, it can be uncomfortable at times because you're going to be growing. The second one I would say is a quality to consider is good teammates. Well, they don't find joy in seeing you stuck. Do y'all know what I mean by this? Because I know sometimes we say, yeah, Ryan, that's an obvious one, right? I don't know, is it so obvious? Because the truth is some teammates will love to see you stuck in life. And you say, well, that's weird. Why? If they're my teammate, why would they love to see me stuck in life? Well, because somehow seeing you stuck and keeping you stuck, it gives them the permission to stay stuck in life, and it gives them all this validation about their life choices, and they don't ever have to make changes, and it creates a cycle of stuckness. And the fear is, well, if you get unstuck and you're my teammate, what happens if you leave me? So they find all kinds of joy in your stuckness, and I would tell y'all, these aren't your people. These aren't your people. These aren't your teammates. Choose teammates whose hearts break with yours. And the third one you might want to consider is, well, good teammates. Yeah, they carry you and tear the roof off so that you have a fighting chance at experiencing a brand new world. And do you know who these people are? They're the ones when you have nothing left. They're the ones that are going to come alongside you and carry you, and not in a codependent way, not in a rescuing kind of way, not because they need something out of it kind of way, but they're going to carry you, and they're going to be with you, and they're going to get creative with their solutions, and they're going to be the ones that bring you closer to God or higher power or spirit or universe or ultimate reality, whatever you call it. They're going to bring you closer, not further away. They are going to be that constant voice for you that says, just a little bit further. Just a little bit further. You can do this. Just a little bit further. You can do this. Just a little bit further. They're going to be that constant voice for you that says, dude, don't you remember? You are God's son. You are God's daughter. Which means you are worthy of healing. You are worthy of getting unstuck. Fourth one I would say is good teammates. Good teammates will always celebrate your wins. And you say, but come on, Ryan, isn't that another obvious one? Well, kind of. I mean, it should be. I can tell you, the times I've gotten tripped up the most in life is when I decide to turn off my inner wisdom switch. You get the red flags, but you say, oh, that was just them having an off day. Well, how many off days can they have? How many times can we switch off that inner wisdom switch? In other words, if you get a win and they're not celebrating with you, they ain't your teammates. You got to get new teammates. Trade that teammate away to another team. They're not bad people, but they ain't your teammates. If they start with, yeah, I know you got a win here, but you should have done it this way. You should have done it that way. I know you got to win here, but look at your life over here, and you've got some more winning to do, and you've got to get your act together. Well, I would tell you they're not your teammates. Here's a filter you can use. If you consistently walk away from that teammate and you consistently feel worse, a little worse about yourself, get new teammates. That person is no longer your teammate. Choose teammates who are constantly cheering for you. Choose teammates who, when you call them with your good news, their first response is, I am so happy for you. Are you building the best team possible? Who are your teammates? And I would encourage you to thank these people often. Thank them for being on your team. Thank them for being your teammates. So here's what we'll do. We'll hear a song together. This song is called Brother. It's the acoustic campfire version. And I would invite you to just think about, who are your teammates? Maybe you need to get new teammates. But if you have some current ones, take out your phone. Text them. Thanks for walking this journey with me. Thank you for carrying me. Thank you for being on this team with me. Take a couple minutes and reflect. This time is yours. Woo-woo! All right, welcome back, everybody. Man, we have an OG in the house tonight. Yeah, if you're new with us every single week, from the very beginning, we've had a guest storyteller to join us in the living room. Tonight, like I said, we have an OG, Amanda Berry, in the house. And before she comes up and shares with us some of her experience, strength, and hope, well, yeah, I remember when Amanda walked in her first time into Free in 2021 at our old location where it was like the size of this living room, maybe a little bit bigger. She walked in and I don't know, can we just say you were kind of a hot mess but seeking for a new way? Oh yeah, help me welcome my friend Amanda Berry into the living room. Come on in. The tech team tells me crack to crack, but I think that's a little awkward to say to people.
That's fine for me.
We just say the middle of the couch.
Speaking my language.
Okay, so Amanda, by the way, doesn't live here anymore. Amanda lives up in Buffalo, so she's like an extension of our community. We have Buffalo people out there?
There's a few online.
Okay.
Go Bills.
Hi, Buffalo people. Go Bills. Go Bills. We're not going to talk about that. That's still a little bit sore, Amanda. So yeah, let's go back to, as you can see on the screen, Amanda's been sober since 2022. So when we met you, And this was such a fun story to hear for me because it just reminded me of like the old days and some players who were in the room. When we met Amanda, January 2021, tell us that story of why you came walking through the doors of Free, what that was like.
It's probably like anyone's first attempt at getting well. It was shaky. I was shaking like a leaf, totally broken, desperate. I probably spent that morning like crying in a grocery store trying to decide what kind of breakfast sausage to pick. I couldn't make decisions. I was like overwhelmed with this new skin. And I was encouraged to find an in-person meeting because it was during COVID and I had only been on Zoom up to that point. And I found like someone told me to use the meeting guide app. Yeah. And I called a person and confirmed there was a meeting here. There was not. So I have a resentment against Susan forever.
Susan, you got to pray for Susan.
Allegedly, I will. She was, someone on the other line sent me here.
Yeah.
Arapahoe here.
Yeah.
And you, Kavita, and Danny were there.
Kavita, where's Kavita? Is she here tonight?
Right here.
I saw her. There's Kavita. Do you
My
remember
girl.
this moment? Yeah, me too.
She was very unamused that you're telling her to sit with me.
Well,
very inconvenient that day.
But do you know why? I mean, this is another obvious one, I think. So it was me and Danny in the room, and then Kavita, and my training says men work with men and women work with women, and Kavita was there, and so I did voluntold, but a little bit. I think I asked very politely. Maybe?
She was busy delivering some wagon coffee,
She
and
was.
she made time. She said yes, and the rest just sort of happened. God was there, and we sat at Torchy's, and I was just telling her, like, if you hadn't said yes, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah. And, what was it that, what was it you experienced? I wrote down this line you said, I was being asked questions I had never been asked before, and I felt seen for the first time.
Torchy's Tacos on Arapahoe. Yes. She was just trying to have a lunch break, and you know, she said, "Why do you think you're an alcoholic?" and took a bite. And mid-bite, I said something I'd never been asked that before, and I'd never thought about this before. And I said, "I drink to get drunk," and that was enough for her to stop mid-bite and look at me like, "Okay, like we can keep talking." Like I felt like I passed, like check. And the next question was like, "So what do you want to do about it? Like how do you want to do this? You know, are you ready?" And I remember like looking at myself for the first time as not just following the motions of these online Zoom people who like carried me and dropped me into the roof, but someone who was willing to like make time and lead me. Yeah. And I had never like committed myself to anything. Like once a week doing anything was unusual for me, and that was what I signed up for. And those once a week meetings turned into life as I know it.
Yeah. Okay, so back up with us for a minute. Because you went on a 2-week bender. This was right before you got sober, I believe, and you were getting ready to drive back to Colorado. And you had a pretty profound conversation with your dad.
Yeah, we did not get along at that time. He had about 10 years sober at that time, and I was just letting him change the oil of my car. My mom was to be my passenger to drive back here. I was living here, but took like Christmas and New Year's time in Buffalo, and he said to me after my 2 weeks there, "I feel like I'd be a bad dad if I didn't tell you about my concerns with your drinking and drugging." And my first thought was like, okay, but the second thought took over, which was unusual to pause, and it was like, what do you mean? And I sat down and I listened to what he had to say. There was this like warm presence. It was very much not my norm to like sit and listen. And it was like a first surrender. And I think I was just desperate. And I happened to not be intoxicated that day. It was unusual for me to be totally sober at 10 in the morning when I was, you know, on vacation, when I was supposed to be doing family, but I was doing me. Yeah. So it turned into me crying and him telling me you can't do it alone, and him opening some literature that led me to myself, like inwards. I could see that I was broken. It was my first time seeing that I was an alcoholic. Yep. And I was like embarrassed and like kind of ashamed and like, what do I do with it? Like now that I know I'm the problem, what do I do? And he said, you can't do it alone. And I said, I need one of those meetings you go to. And I committed myself and I did at least 2 that day before we got to Chicago, my mom and I. I gave him like a bunch of stuff from my trunk that I had planned to use before I even made it back to Colorado, and then I went and told my mom, like, hey, this is going to be a different trip than we both were dreading. So everything was different very quickly.
Yeah.
And I had support because she had been through it with him. So she drove, which was another huge surrender.
Yeah.
We're both terrible drivers. And
we're glad you're here in Colorado.
yeah, it's so cool. I got here safely.
Yeah.
And sober.
Okay, now let's fast forward a moment. I asked Amanda if she'd be willing to share this part of her story because I think it's so important. At 6 months, so you'll notice her sobriety date is 2022. But at 6 months, clean and sober, you decided, you know what I can do? I can pick up the weed.
Yeah, hello.
Talk about your journey with that.
I was powerless over more things than alcohol, and I didn't really know the other meaning of AA, this absolute abstinence. And so when I got a little cocksuredness or the promises started coming true, I was like, my sister let me drive her kids around. And that for me was like a big win. And I was like, okay, I'm okay now. Like, I'm better. People are trusting me. And for some reason, I was resting on my laurels. I missed something. And it started with like a gummy, and it turned into my old habits. And after a year of that, I had lost my sponsor. I had a hostage sponsee. I was flying real close to a drink. You know, I was like so close to drinking, and I knew it. So I told on myself to the scariest woman in a women's meeting at Vitality. She was very like excited to get into someone's life, and I let it be mine. It was all so dysfunctional again, and I surrendered again.
Yeah.
And I reset my date as to her recommendation because I didn't feel sober, like I wasn't sober.
Yeah.
And for me, that's just a personal choice I made. There were a lot of people that told me I didn't need to reset my date because I didn't drink, but I didn't feel right. I knew I had to try again and feel new and like humble myself. So I did. I reset my date at 18 months.
Yeah. Can I share with you one of my character defects?
Please.
Yeah. Let's make it about me now, Amanda. I sometimes look at people. I think it's because I thought about this the other day, hearing your story. I used to do this with myself. Early on in recovery, Ryan, you're not serious. Ryan, you're not going to make it. Dude, who are you trying to kid here? You're not like them. So many people who now have like these brand new lives, and you are one of them. I looked at you early on and said, she's not serious. She's not going to make it. And I say that because I see the life you live now, and it is radically different than what it was in 2021 when you came through when I first met you. Like you're doing incredible things today, involved in your recovery, sponsoring other people, walking with them in a journey. That's a beautiful thing to see. But I want people to hear from you. What does it look like to choose new teammates?
You got to leave room for God. You know, the people I used to choose weren't good for me, and now that I'm on this journey of wellness, you know, my dad taught me, how well do you want to be? And when I think about that as a frame for my decisions, it's like, is this someone that would tear a roof off for me? And I am blessed with so many teachers around me. It's like when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. Yeah. He taught me that too. And so like, I find that more people around me today want to help me, and it's just how much help am I willing to accept? They were always there. I just had to kind of let go of the BS and choose a better path. And communities like this and people who are grateful for what others have done for them, it's just the give back. You know, it's the ripple effect of recovery. Yeah. And so it's kind of easy when you're in the middle of the boat to stay afloat.
Yeah. And you were telling me a beautiful story about John and Carrie. Where are they? John and Carrie. Oh, they're your second rowers. I had no clue about this. And I've known them forever. Well, it feels like forever. It was something they said that gave you a major shift in life. What was that?
During that 2-week bender before I put the drink down, I was really struggling with a close relationship in my life. My cousin, Gretchen, I felt like I didn't know how to help her. I was totally disconnected and wanted to like be there for her, but I had no business trying to. And I was I was pretty lost in that relationship. And when I heard Carrie and John speak about their story at Free, I had been here about 30, 60 days. It inspired me to the point that I reached out to my aunt and I said, we can't help her maybe, but like, can I be there for you? And their support for one another and the support from Free that came to them, I felt that love, that ripple effect. Like I knew that they had an A-team and I thought maybe they could help me through what I was doing. And all I had to do was like say, hey, you inspired me, I don't know what to do. And they were like, yeah, of course, come with me to this Naranon meeting. And I was able to get resources and like mail them to my aunt and say, if you don't know about this, like there's help, there's hope. Like if you want it, it's here. And she had heard about it, but I think she got the courage to like investigate more and do a little bit more for her own wellness, because we have to help the willing. And Gretchen just wasn't. She lost her battle to addiction about a year and a half ago.
And hope still lives. You didn't tell me this. They told me this tonight. And I get why you didn't tell me. You mowed their lawn when Carrie was going through her cancer procedure?
Why not? I was raised on a bunch of land and by a hardworking man, and I didn't know how else to show gratitude.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hang out with. I follow people around who have what I want.
Yeah.
They let me.
That's what you just said. That's a very big statement. I follow people around who have what I want. That's.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, in closing, what do you think the biggest thing is how's your life in the most radical way? How's it shifted with finding these new teammates, new people to do life with? What's the biggest shift there?
I learned how to be a good teammate. When I realized that that's what it was going to take for me, like I just had an overwhelming sense of gratitude for those that were there for me, because in my most desperate moment, I survived it, not alone. And when I realized I was a terrible teammate, I started there. You know, like a lot of people don't know where to start. Yeah. And I just got honest with myself. Looking over your shoulder all the time is exhausting. So I had to learn how to get honest. And then I had to figure out where not to go. And then when I had time and space, it was like, so how well do I want to be? And I went to the wellness and the recovery, and it's everywhere. And all those people I have way more than 5 teammates that would tear a roof off for me. I'm super blessed.
Yep. And finally, Amanda, for someone who's maybe watching tonight or someone who's here tonight they're really struggling, they feel alone, or they feel like they have the wrong teammates, they feel like their picker has been off in choosing the right teammates, what do you leave them with?
Ask some questions, just a little bit further.
Yeah.
You were telling my story up here, and I would say get honest. As soon as I realized I was the problem, I was like, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
How do I make this right? And it was like letting go of everything I thought I knew and change everything. Yeah. And that was really hard. But everyone around me showed me how to do it, so I just go where the help is. We're the only ones that really know if we're ready to accept help. Some people don't want to get well.
Yeah.
And that is a truth that's hard to accept when you're on the other side of that pain. So just not judging people has been, and just being patient and ready.
Yeah.
So
Amanda, I'm so glad you are part of this community. I'm
Thank you.
so glad you walked in 5 years ago, I don't know, back in 2021, and way to go on rocking your recovery.
Thank you.
Really proud of you. Really glad you're part of this community. Amanda
Thank you.
Berry, ladies
I
and
love
gentlemen.
You guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
Awesome.
Stick around. Yeah, you can leave it there. Yeah, she'll be sticking around because she's going to join us for the next service as well. So if you want to ask Amanda any questions, she's like an open book. She would love to talk to you. All right, y'all. Well, the way we close down here on a Saturday night is we start with celebrations. We close with what we call heartaches. The burdens that maybe you have been carrying, maybe the burdens that you've never put words to, and it's kind of scary to put words to it, but maybe they're just the heavy things that you need some prayer, some encouragement, some lifting up. That's what this 3 minutes is for. Can I give you fellas a mic again? And yeah, this beautiful thing happens when you share your burdens. One, you're putting words to it, but you're letting other people in. So it's a trust factor with community. And we have a God who hears the cries of the people. And you find out that doing it alone, you actually do suck at that. You need other people. It's why we have community. So we take 3 minutes for this. Again, if you're online, drop your heartaches in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We'll join with you there. And for those of you in-house, David has a mic on this side. Josh has one on this side. And you can just raise up your hand. They'll get you a mic. Let's take 3 minutes.
This is Carrie. I would love prayers for Jessica. She's usually a regular here. She's currently going through chemo treatments, and she was in the hospital this week for an RSV infection. She is really, really struggling. She's watching online tonight, so if y'all could just keep her in our prayers, she could really use some support.
Jess, prayers for you. We're thinking about you. We're missing you. Yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
I'd like prayers for my friend and his family. My friend relapsed, and I'm here with his family today, trying to help him through it as he lets him burn in the ground.
Yeah. Prayers for y'all dealing with that, the one you love. And I'm glad you're clean and sober to be able to be in that position, man. That's a big deal. Prayers. Others.
I'm Kathy. I would like to ask for prayers for peace, love, and healing for Iran and all the Middle East, and for the whole world.
Yeah. Lifting up those tonight who have been affected by violence. Yeah. Times of war. Thank you. Anyone else?
Grateful, but it's also made her death more real to me, and I'm just still really not doing that okay on a daily basis. Just so prayers for my family, and still a lot of major heartache. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for always lifting that up and saying you're not doing so okay. Thank you for that. And prayers for you, Jennifer. Thank you, David. And Josh, Tam, you joining me back up here for a moment? To join with our online community?
You were holding it.
Yes. You want to take the first one?
There's Colin again. I have fear for a number of people in my life who, even if they are completely sober, they continue to be suicidal. And I don't know how to hold this love and concern by myself.
Yeah. Colin, prayers for you, brother. That's a burden. I hope you're not carrying it alone. I'm glad you're joining in tonight, dude. Yeah. T. Gomez, 90, says, just for everyone going through struggle, what's that? As I can't pull it to words, I understand. Just, yeah. Thank you for that prayer. Yeah, we'll pray that with you. That's a good one, dude. Glad you're joining us.
And Jennifer, just asking for prayers for someone I'm now separated from due to relapse, and prayers for both our healing from the entire situation, and prayers she gets help.
Yeah, Jennifer, continued prayers. I know that's been a heavy one. Mike says, my sister Linda had an EKG, and it was found that she had a heart attack. They are scheduling a CAT scan on her heart. A couple of days after that, she left her car for 6 minutes. When she came back, she found her window was broken and her purse was stolen. She is 79 years old and has her own business. She is a source of wisdom and comfort to me. Bless her and bless you, Mike. Prayers for both of you. Walking that journey together. Glad you're here tonight. Thanks, Tam, for being up here. Did things just get really quiet all of a sudden, or is it just me? Just me? Yeah. Yeah, it's quiet. Well, if you have been impacted by the mission of breaking the silence of addiction, creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection, you should know, people always ask, like, how are you guys funded here? We are funded by you, the people. We're very grateful for your generous giving here. And as I try to tell you every week, even if you don't give here, please do give somewhere. Find people in need and give, because it does change you. But we are grateful for your giving here. It makes a huge difference. If you want to give, there's a few different ways to do it. If you want to donate, you can download the app, Free Recovery Community. There's all of our content's on there, messages, guest storytellers, events, meetings, everything's on there. There's a giving button. You can give that way. You can also go directly to the website, freerecoverycommunity.com, and you can give there. Or for those of you that like to do it in person and with things like cash and check, well, there's 2 giving boxes just outside these set of doors. This is for in-house people, by the way. And there's the giving kiosk just on the other side of these doors, where it's the one tippy-tap system. You just tap away and you can give that way. Carrie loves to demonstrate how to do that with each one of her credit cards just for you after the service. See her outside of these doors. Just kidding, Carrie. And for those of you online that have never been here and you give, you consider this place your home, I hope you know how grateful we are for you. Man, all of it, when it's a little bit and a lot of hands, it comes together and beautiful things happen. Thank you for being a part of it. Whew, shall we go out with a prayer? Yes. I would invite you, if you want. Of course, it's not a requirement, but if you want to open up the hands, it's just a simple sign of openness. Yeah, maybe you're open to God's movement in the world, God's movement in your life. The one who always moves in love. The one inviting you to play a different way. Maybe get a new team. The one who reminds you that you are worthy of healing. Worthy of being unstuck. Just take a big, deep breath. And if it feels like God is distant, be reminded God is as near as breathing. And if you don't know the 7th step prayer, well, it's on your screen. We'll pray it together. It goes like this. My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in my way of usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go from here to do your bidding. Amen. Grace and peace to you. See you next time.